with other people, when anybody has to face the choice to go into assisted living, it's like a downer. It's like, I can't do for myself anymore. I'm getting old. And it really doesn't have to be that way. And I'm gonna give you two quick examples before we start. My father-in-law had a massive stroke at the age of 67, knocked out his entire left side. He was in healthcare for about 10 months, and through physical therapy, was able to go into assisted living and remain there the rest of his life. While there, he started a newsletter for the assisted living group. He had a whole social group of friends, and it was a very positive experience for him. On the other hand, my mother, who lived to be almost 100, at 93 decided she did not want to drive anymore because only idiots were on the road. So she was living alone in a condominium, and she had a benign familial tremor, which made eating and preparing food difficult. The tremor would get worse. It was when she tried to use it. She was smart enough to know that she didn't want to get burned. She didn't want to drop a pot. She didn't want to scald herself with hot tea. So the decision was made to go into assisted living. Now, I will say the first month to 6 weeks, it was sort of like, you did this to me. It was a real downer, and so we persisted through that. But in the end, it was like, now, don't call me after dinner tonight because we're going on the Tacky Light tour. And we have boxed lunches that we're eating on the bus, so I won't be back till really, really late. Well, don't bring the children after school on Wednesday because that's the birthday party for the month. Or could you drop by and give me some more money because I don't really like Chinese food, but that's where the bus is going on Wednesday for lunch, and I'm going. So she opened up an entire social life and interaction and activities that she never would have had. And that's the light of this that we want to show everybody. Sometimes it's a better thing than you really want to think it is because there's something you just can't do for yourself, and other people can help you do that, but that allows you to do all the fun stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. There is one thing, this was going to be a video, but at the 99th hour, the video didn't happen, so we are doing a slideshow. We found out way too late to get anything produced as a video after all the efforts we had put in. Another video produced. And then the other thing is the sign-in sheet came in late, so if you haven't signed in, sign in on the way out. Now, the person that's really in charge and has done the most work of this is Lauren Burnett, who is the administrator for assisted living. So she's going to come take over this part of the program, and then we have the panel with the social workers and Lauren to answer questions after the presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. Again, for those of you who do not know me, I am Lauren Burnett, the administrator for assisted living. And I know it's a little bit of a disappointment that the video truly is not going to be the product today, but instead there are some photographs that I have added to this PowerPoint to hopefully be some new and interesting information for you to see today instead, and of course, questions afterwards. So we still hope this will be certainly a benefit to you, and I'm very pleased to see how many people are interested in assisted living and learning more about it. Okay, so to start off with giving you a little bit of an overview of what assisted living is. It is licensed by the Department of Social Services at a state level for Virginia. And if you go on the Department of Social Services website and look up Cedarfield, you will find that our occupancy level is listed as 157. That is not the number of apartments that we have in assisted living, but instead that allows for couples to reside in each and every apartment that we do have. So 67 physical apartments, if they were double occupied, that would allow for 157 people. Garden Grove is the name of the neighborhood for assisted living, and it is spread across 2 different floors here at Cedarfield. So hopefully, if you had attended anything in the Great Room during the Fellowship Hall renovations, you will have seen Fourth floor of assisted living is right at that great room, which has 25 of those 67 apartments. And then the burgundy colored hallway on third floor, if you've walked by there, has 42 to make up that 67. So that just gives you an overview with what we're working with as far as numbers. Photos. So if you haven't had the chance to walk through these hallways and truly get a tour, this is our main entrance, the foyer, when you're coming from the Deep Run Park, the red covered awning ramp. This is what you would see when you walk into assisted living. Some of the other common spaces to show, this is closer to the dining room section where you've got plenty of areas to seat, to socialize. There are actual puzzle tables there too, which is certainly a favorite for the residents residing there. We do have a piano where we have several residents across campus that like to regularly come and serenade us at different parts of the day. This living room is actually up on the fourth floor near that great room that I just mentioned. So we certainly have a lot of spaces for families to come and visit and to do things outside of just your apartment. So that's another example of just a different style on the fourth floor. This is what's referred to as the secret garden, if you have heard that. And the best way to describe it is it's a courtyard garden that's at the very center of Garden Grove, of assisted living. And the best way to get there is actually to walk halfway down third floor in case you're curious. But it truly is a beautiful garden with things growing year round. And there is, although you can't necessarily see it in this picture, towards this right side of the photo, there is a covered portico area is the best way to describe it. So there is some shade on those really, really hot days as well, but it's a lovely garden to spend some time in. Okay, so what is assisted living? What do we provide as far as the level of care offers? In independent living, you're really and truly your resource is the clinic that's here with Ann, with Melissa, with Adeline. And they're only during the day, Monday through Friday, compared to Garden Grove Assisted Living, which has 24/7 support from a clinical perspective. And what this looks like is we use duly certified individuals. They're both certified nursing assistants and registered medication aides. So they're doing both the hands-on care and your medication administration. That's what that duly certified license is. So you have those individuals who are doing really the day-to-day care with one LPN nurse who is overseeing all of assisted living. It's not based on floor or anything along those lines. In addition, you have an assistant director of nursing. Her name's Letitia, and she's not here in the room with us, but she oversees those clinical team members that I just mentioned. In addition to them, we have our on-site providers, many of you are probably familiar with already, Dr. Cook, Dr. Shear. We have a nurse practitioner named Arden, and they partner together to serve our residents in assisted living. They come to you. That's such a beautiful thing. You don't have to walk to the clinic like you're currently doing now with independent living. The providers, if and when you need to see them, will come to you as if it's a home visit. So certainly a benefit. And like I had mentioned with this care team, they are helping you as needed with things that are called activities of daily living, or ADL. That's, the ability to get dressed, to go to the bathroom, to eat, technically is one of those things, showers, all of those hands-on physical needs to be able to function. So there's assistance with that on a daily basis, and that does look different for everyone. So you might have someone that only is getting assistance with medications, for example, and then another person who does need some assistance with all of those ADLs. So it just depends on the resident, but we certainly offer that assistance. And again, 24/7, not just during certain working hours. We're here around the clock. The 3 meals included, I do talk more specifically about dining a little bit later, just to let you know, but when you're in assisted living and dining in assisted living, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are included. So breakfast is definitely the favorite for the household, and it's available Monday through Sunday, which is very nice in comparison to independent living. The apartments themselves. So I know this is always a question. It comes fully unfurnished, but these are kind of the components you can work with when you move into Garden Grove. You do have your living room area, and it's an open concept with a kitchenette, and then a bedroom and bathroom. The majority are one-bedroom apartments. I did note we have two-bedroom apartments that are specifically reserved for couples residing in them. Everything else is going to be your one-bedroom style with these components. And you're going to have to forgive the images a little bit for this. I could not get them any larger just because I know we were initially planning for the video format, but bear with me. This is an entryway standard for the apartments in Garden Grove, and as you can see, residents can, decorate similar to you with being able to put their own wreaths if they want to add additional frames or something small near that mailbox area. It can be decorated as you like, which is very nice. It's personalized. When you enter this kitchenette, and again, I know it's a little hard to see, this is what I mean by a kitchenette. Refrigerator, sink, microwave, but you can see there's no stove. There's no range there to be able to truly do some intensive cooking, for example, and we don't want you to. We want you to enjoy the dining room. And no dishwasher either. I know that's a common question. So really the components of what you're working with is that fridge, microwave, and sink, okay? Immediately next to this, again, it's open concept. Oh, sorry. Let me go forward a little bit. This is what I'm talking about. Open concept with a living room. Again, comes fully unfurnished. This is an example of a current resident who lives in assisted living and was gracious enough to let us see the inside of her apartment living room. Backing up to the bedroom area, which is separate. We've got all different sizes of beds. It really just depends on your personal preference. I would say probably most residents are doing double, but ultimately up to your preference. And then off of the bedroom, the bathroom didn't make it in there, but I promise there is one. So those are your components to give you an idea of the space that you're working with. Tier levels. That really plays into what level of assistance that you need when you're residing in assisted living. And this does impact billing for preferred choice residents, which I have a separate slide on. But to give you an idea, levels 1 through 6, 1 being you need the least amount of assistance from the care team, and 6 is really a healthcare level of care. So once we're getting to that 5 and 6 range, we're discharge planning with you and your family at that point in time. But we've got a variety of residents that fall all within this range, so there is no right or wrong tier level to be. And this is determined by the Uniform Assessment Instrument, or UAI for short. So that's going through the physical functioning aspects, like the showering, like the getting dressed. Cognition is a part of that. Med management is a part of that. So it's an assessment that we do prior to you coming to assisted living, and we do it every 6 months as well to, of course, keep you informed and to keep us informed with what sort of assistance you're needing. And that's how your tier level is calculated. Care plan meetings in assisted living does happen on a scheduled basis once a year. So really within the first week or so when you move in, and then from that point on, annually. If you do notice a change or have any concerns, you're more than welcome to request an additional care plan meeting. However, it is done automatically once a year. And this is when we're reviewing what your current tier level is and what that assistance looks like. Again, I know we kind of walked through this a little bit, but hopefully visually this will help with the team structure. Just saying you've got your assistant director of nursing, Letitia, who's overseeing the clinical team members that work within assisted living. You have an additional LPN who is overseeing those residents. Your duly certified individuals who you will see most often doing that hands-on care. And then we partner with the providers here at Cedar Field to make up your Garden Grove team. So hopefully this just kind of puts it in a different visual to help you see that. This is always a big topic, medication management. As I mentioned, we do assist with that. But again, that looks different for every resident. When you move into assisted living and you think that you're fully capable of being able to still maintain your medications, you have to pass a safety assessment with the nurse in assisted living to prove that to us, meaning you have to know what type of medication you're taking, how often, why you're taking it, things along those lines to prove that you can safely do it. And if in fact you pass that assessment, you may continue handling it all on your own. Self-administration is what we would call it. In that scenario, you do not have to use Remedy. You can continue using whatever pharmacy provider that is your preference if you are handling your medications. On the flip side of that, if you want to relinquish the control over to the team or for safety reasons you need to, we're happy to help with that. However, Remedy does have to be involved in that situation. And what that looks like can either be Remedy dispensing all medications, or I'm going to use Caremarks as the example. If that's who you use, they can continue dispensing, and Remedy would need to repackage those medications to verify that those are accurate. The repackaging comes at a $7 per prescription fee for that repackaging, just to let you know. But again, Remedy is applying to the clinical team in assisted living, helping with your medications. So just want to make sure that's a clearly defined line there, and happy to take more questions about that when we get to the Q&A portion. Okay, dining. I know I just mentioned this. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, always available 7 days a week in Garden Grove. And it's a shared dining room between both residents on 3rd floor and 4th floor. So they all come to one area to be able to dine, and you'll see a picture of it in a minute. It is truly restaurant style. You've got, tablecloths, the formal place setting. We have servers that work in the dining room, so it's supposed to emulate Cedar Grill is the best way to compare it to. So you're more than welcome to eat all 3 of your meals there. Residents can still dine in any of the locations across Cedar Field. So we've got plenty of residents who every night at dinner, they're still going to the grill area. Or every day at lunch, they're going to pick up takeout from the atrium. And that's okay. We're not limiting you to only dining within assisted living. It's just an additional option to have that available to you. One thing to mention is the guest meals topic. In independent living, if you do choose to skip a certain amount of your meals, that's saved up towards a free guest meal. You don't have the same ability to save up your meals in assisted living. You either use it or you lose it. It's the best way to look at it. You're automatically getting 3 meals a day, so you can't not eat to save towards a guest meal. That's not to say that you can't have family members or friends come to dine with you. It would just be the guest fee that's due. So they can dine with you in Garden Grove, or you can go out to dine at another location. That's perfectly fine. But there is no saved meals towards guest meals. So that's the only thing to mention. And the way the dining works in assisted living, like I said, we do have servers to be able to take your order. We have an always available menu, and we do have some special entree options that rotate. The menu might not be quite as big as what happens when you go to Cedar Grill, just due to the size of the kitchen and things along those lines, but it does its best to emulate and to rotate the menu to be able to offer those options that you're used to. And like I said, always available backups for those who might not want the specials that are on for that meal or for that day, just to kind of explain what the menu structure is. But this is the true entrance on the 3rd floor of Garden Grove into that dining room, and it opens up with the next photo to this. So you truly, like I said, have that sit-down restaurant-style feel. It's not a cafeteria. It's not a harvest table where everyone has to eat together. You can eat with your family and your friends and stick with that same routine. And if you see the doors towards the back of the dining room, it does open to a beautiful patio. So we do have, when it's nicer weather, residents or families wanting to eat out there. And the patio overlooks, if you want to think about it this way, like the Resident Life and Wellness Building and the Memory Care Garden. That's what it overlooks. But it's an easy outdoor access point from that dining room as well. Okay. Engagement, otherwise known as what's happening on the calendar for the day. Assisted living does have an activities coordinator that's full-time, Barbara Helm, as many of you might already know. She keeps us very busy, keeps the residents very busy in Garden Grove with offering a variety of things, as well as including events that are happening in the fellowship hall, for example. It's not taking away any of your hobbies or any of the events you attend when you move to assisted living. You can continue going to your bridge clubs. You can continue going on outings, with independent living. It doesn't stop you from being able to access other parts of Cedarfield. It adds an additional calendar to your day to be able to pick and choose from. And the list here is really just scratching the surface on what's offered on a monthly basis. But ideally, Barbara is providing things that, kind of the brain side and, the artistic, creative side. So again, it just adds to your options. It doesn't take away your ability to go and do any of the courses or any of the programs you enjoy doing. And we do have a designated activity room or engagement space within Garden Grove. Multi-purpose, you can see, you can put tables together to make it more of a social meeting style. You can make it more auditorium themed towards a TV to be able to do travel logs and things along those lines. And you can actually see on the whiteboard, one of the favorites for the residents is kind of taking the big words and creating a lot of different words from it. I don't know, Emily, do you remember what the record is, Barbara tells us? Wasn't it like 200 and something words they created? It was a lot of words. So that's definitely a favorite to kind of do the brain games side of things. But that's a designated space within Garden Grove for engagement purposes. As well as the great room that was mentioned a little bit earlier. So this is the 4th floor of Garden Grove. And if you ride up Assisted Living's elevator, this is going to be the first room you come to when exiting. And again, multi-purpose. We have used it for our Christmas party, for example, because we can take really, really large harvest-style tables that are on wheels to put them in the room and to make it more of a dining setting, if you want to look at it that way, for something like a Christmas party. Or as you can see, this is our entertainment space. So when health services has a lot of our singers and pianists come, this is the space that we hosted in. Resident council. That's another example of what we utilize this room for with this auditorium style, to be able to present. But ultimately, it's called the Great Room, and it's another really nice space to be able to have and to host people. And it can be privately reserved for families as well. We've got a family this upcoming weekend who wanted to bring everyone in town and have a birthday party for one of the residents. So they've got it reserved for the weekend. So that's another example. Contractual differences. I know this is usually an area of interest, just to let you know. Life care residents. No change happens when you move from independent living to assisted living. The monthly fees you have been paying are still your monthly fees when you move. There's really no difference for you in changing levels of care. The preferred choice contracts, on the other hand, are impacted by the care levels that you're receiving. So those tier levels 1 through 6 that we talked about before, there is a monthly fee associated with those tier levels. So as your care needs increase, for example, going from a 2 to a 4, those fees would increase as well. In addition to a tier level fee, you also have a medication management fee that's separate as a preferred choice individual. So for example, you're looking at three different charges as a preferred choice resident. Your monthly fee based on the square footage of the apartment, the tier levels or your care needs, and medication management fees. That's what's different when you're moving levels of care, but otherwise life care is not impacted by those fees. So hopefully that makes some sense, just to give you an idea. And now we will take some more Q&A questions over here, and I know Rachel is going to be coming around for anyone that does have burning questions, but hopefully the photos help to show at least some of what assisted living has to offer. And of course, if there's interest in taking private tours or anything more specific, we'd be happy to set that up with you at a later date to go into more detail about what the household looks like. Otherwise, we will start the Q&A.
Okay, first question.
You just mentioned that the fee went up for preferred choice people based on square feet. Is that square feet of the Garden Grove apartment?
Correct. Yes, the square footage of the Garden Grove apartment is how that monthly apartment fee is dictated.
Second quick question, when you showed the 157, I believe, was the number of occupancy, if you multiply the number of apartments times 2 plus 2 more for the 2 bedrooms, it's a whole lot less than 157. It's more like 136. So are they the memory care units?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that number does include the 20 Morning Glory and or memory care apartments as well. Just in case we were trying to overplan if the need ever arose. It's better to be safe than sorry. So yes, 157 certainly exceeds doubling the 65 apartments. But it allows for truly everyone under that Department of Social Services umbrella to be able to reside with a spouse.
How much is the fee if you want to bring a guest to a meal in assisted living?
I believe it should be the exact same fees that you're accustomed to on the independent living side. I believe lunch is $15 and $25 for dinner, something along those lines. I think that sounds right now that I say that. But it's the same exact fee that you would be accustomed to paying like at Cedar Grill now. So there is no difference or upcharge or anything along those lines on the assisted living side.
Just as a statement on the veterans, there is no fee for remedy to repackage. Okay.
That is accurate. Just in case anyone didn't hear, that $7 repackaging fee that would be required for people utilizing that option. Veterans, it is waived for, or spouses of veterans.
Okay,
That's
next
accurate.
thing. What specifically do you have to be able to administer your own medications? I.e., before I sit there and take it, I look at the bottle, even though I've been taking this stuff for years, and I'll go, oh, okay, this is such and such, so much, so many milligrams, blah, blah, blah. Am I going to have to verbalize that to be able to take them myself, or how far does that go?
So in order to, and granted, this will be a nurse that's helping with this assessment to ensure that you are safely, administering medications yourself, but it could look different for everyone according to what your routine or what your, or how you safely take your medications. But ultimately, for example, if you do have to refer to your bottle to say, I'm taking 5 milligrams of X, Y, and Z at these hours, you still know to be able to refer to that information to follow. It might not all be memorized in your head, which is okay, but again, you kind of follow the steps needed to be able to safely do that versus someone who's just saying, oh, I don't know, my family has helped fill my pillbox, for example. That would not be acceptable. Does that make sense? I hope that helps clarify.
I want to know how safe the bathrooms are. Where are the pull cords? Is there a bench in the shower? I'm just curious.
Good question. So pull cord locations, that's not something that's easily seen as far as looking at photos. But there is, of course, one in the bedroom, and that's really and truly located right next to the bed. And the cord does stretch, and it can be attached to your sheets too if you don't want to be, trying to find it in the middle of the night. So there is a pull cord there in the bedroom, in addition to one in the bathroom, and it would be immediately located next to the toilet, so you don't have to get up to be able to, pull it. It's within a distance between the shower and the toilet to be able to access it when you're utilizing the restroom. So there's one there. And keep in mind that pendants, we have all of our assisted living residents are given pendants. I know it's optional on the independent living side, but when you move into assisted living and you do not already have a pendant, we would provide one to you. And we, of course, encourage you to wear that at all times as well in case you cannot reach a pull cord, or you might be outside in one of the common spaces. You could be outside in the garden, something along those lines. And it's great to have that pendant to be able to press without having to go to a wall or something along those lines if you truly have an emergency. Oh, sorry. Yes, the second part to that. I apologize. So that really and truly, if you do need adaptive equipment in the shower, we would rely on our therapy services team to help navigate through what's most appropriate. But ultimately, it is up to the resident to provide their own adaptive equipment. So that, again, the apartments in assisted living come fully vacated, fully unfurnished, including adaptive devices like a shower seat.
Circling back to the fees, for preferred choice, if you have a couple, are the fees per person or a single fee or a reduced fee for the second person, as in independent living?
Great question. I love that one. So if there are two individuals that are both preferred choice, let's say you're residing in the same one-bedroom apartment, you would have a monthly fee, but the tier level fees and the medication management fees that I had mentioned are per person, because you might be at different tier levels. You could have different care needs, so that will be individualized, per spouse, if that makes sense. So yes, you would have your monthly fee for the apartment, but have 2 tier level fees and 2 medication management fees.
Could you tell us about the respite care apartments and fees connected or not?
Yes, so we have 2 respite apartments in assisted living. We have one on the 3rd floor and one on the 4th floor. They are both studio apartments that are fully furnished, and they are designed for short-term stays in assisted living. There are a variety of reasons as to why someone would use one of the respite apartments. We've had people who've maybe had a minor procedure and weren't quite ready to go home, but they didn't really need health care, wanted a little bit of oversight, so they've come to stay with us in respite for a few days. We've had people come to stay with us if they had something going on in their independent living apartment and needed somewhere else to stay for a little bit. We've had where we've had a couple and maybe one of the spouses was having a procedure and the other spouse couldn't stay by themselves, so they've come to stay with us in respite. So there really are a variety of reasons as to why you might need to use the respite apartments. And if you foresee that you might have a need for that, if something's coming up, a procedure or something of that sort, you can certainly reach out to Melissa, the independent living social worker, to let her know what you've got going on, and she can help walk you through, whether or not that would be a good option for you. It's the same as if you were staying in assisted living long term. So if your preferred choice, then you would pay the tier fee and the medication management fee. If you have a life care contract, then your fees would not change.
I assume all the apartments are occupied now. Is that correct?
They are all reserved. So mostly occupied. We have a few that people are going to be moving into in the next month or so. So if you are interested in moving into assisted living, please let Melissa, the independent living social worker, know, and she can add you to our list.
Well, that was the crux of my question. If I'm in a position I need to go in assisted living and it's fully occupied, now, is it a waiting list like there is for independent, or?
Sure. So that changes all of the time. Often, if there's someone who has an immediate need for assisted living and there's not a permanent apartment available, we often will accommodate them in one of our respite apartments until something opens up.
Okay, so it's not like there's no room at the inn for 10 months or 8, whatever it is.
No, that is not usually the case. So, you came here to Cedarfield to make sure that you were taken care of, and so we will make arrangements to accommodate your needs.
You mentioned LPNs and CNAs. What is the overnight coverage?
So you still have a similar, overnight outlook as far as the licensure of team members, but the numbers might look a little different. So again, it's a duly certified individual who is both a CNA and a medication aide. So let me just give you this. So for Garden Grove Assisted Living night shift, meaning 11 to 7, as far as the shift time, that duly certified person, you would have a total of 3, and still the one LPN nurse who I mentioned. So again, it just might be a difference in the numbers of who's there overnight, but you still have the same licensed individuals.
Would it be possible to add part of the report from changing shifts so that they know what respite rooms are available, if they have any or not? Because when we came back from the hospital on Saturday, nobody had any idea what was available for the individual to go to. I mean, they ended up having to go to health care, but, that should, in my opinion, that should be part of a report from shift to shift so that they know.
So the information on what apartments are available versus unavailable is provided to the supervisor. And of course, any move-ins and move-outs that are happening or have happened during the past shift is passed on. So that is communicated. However, when we are moving anyone in, especially when it's an emergent need that's happening, they still need to confer with the supervisor. Does that make sense? It's not that they don't have the information, but they do need to work with, for example, the director of nursing to be able to say, can we utilize this apartment? So it is a little more that happens behind the scenes, but the communication of what's available and unavailable and what has changed is a part of the shift report.
And so every shift has a supervisor?
Yes. So if you think about today, like Monday through Friday during working hours such as this, you have your director of nursing and a lot of licensed nurses here acting as supervisor. So starting with the evening shift, 3 to 11, as well as that night shift, 11 to 7, that's when we have the nurse supervisor who's here when the director of nursing is not, for
Okay.
example.
They need to timely get back to the individual who was working, trying to get a place for somebody, because they weren't calling timely to let us know where to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is some work that happens behind the scenes, especially when it is something unplanned, something along those lines.
And
Thank
then
you.
the other thing, the 2 respite rooms have, since last December, have they either put higher toilets in there or put in something that will make it higher?
Yes, we do have access to like a raised toilet seat for individuals who do need to come to respite and need that sort of equipment, and shower chairs as well, and things along those lines that help with those temporary stays. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, for preferred choice, what is the estimated range of the tiers from one tier to the other for the cost every month?
We can actually look up the specific numbers, but I actually. Oh, sure. So the question was, what does the breakdown as far as pricing look like for tier levels? Like I mentioned, you're charged as a preferred choice resident, based on tier level and based on medication management. So there is a document that breaks down that pricing, which I'm more than happy to email to anyone who's interested, but I know we're going to hopefully look up that information to share now as well. I don't have those numbers memorized. I really don't. Actually, I think I sent it this morning. Hold on. Give us 1 second. Pretty sure I sent it this morning to someone. No, someone. Let's see. Okay, I found it. Hopefully a little quicker. So, for example, the tier level 1 fee per month for a preferred choice individual, as of this fiscal year, keep that in mind, is $455. Then it would go up to $930 for tier level 2, all the way up to tier level 6. But again, also tier level 6 is really a healthcare level of care at that point in time. So it's very rare that anyone would be paying this in assisted living, but it's $3,005 per month when you get up to that top tier level of 6. The second fee that we had talked about was the medication management. So for someone who is taking no medications up to 2 medications, is charged $395 per month. Anywhere from 3 to 6 medications would be $535. And more than 6 is $665. And again, this is a document that exists that you are welcome to access, but it might just take an email and one of us here at the table to get a copy of that. But that, again, only applies to preferred choice individuals.
Also, for preferred choice, could you go through the apartments and the distribution? And my understanding is there's one small apartment, and then most of the others are quite large and have quite a substantial fee, and that there's a second fee for a second individual.
So, there is the same document that I have mentioned has a range. Okay. So the question was specifically related to the fee for the apartment itself, if you're preferred choice, because it is based on square footage. This document has a range that's listed, and the reason why it is such a large range, the lowest is, like $5,300, for example. And that's looking at more of like the respite side of things compared to our standard 1-bedroom apartment. Again, It could vary a little bit based on the square footage, and the business office can actually give you a better idea of truly if there's a specific apartment you're looking at, what the fee would be. But the max is $10,500 per month. And again, for preferred choice. So it is a range, it just depends on the apartment. But in general, you're looking more towards that $10,000 a month apartment, just based on what we have for those 1 bedrooms. And let me see. Second person fee.
And the second person fee?
Yes. So there is a second person fee. It's not doubling the monthly fee. So it's not taking $10,000 and timesing it by 2 if you live together. But the second person would be charged $2,265 per month. So it's not doubling the apartment fee, but it's still charging for that second person to reside there.
On the medication fee, you indicated from 0 to 2 was so much. So if I'm taking no medications, but I'm on preferred choice, you're going to charge me that whatever fee it was?
It technically is listed as 0 to 2. In general, if you are receiving assistance with your medications, it's going to be more than none, but it is officially listed on here as none to 2. But again, like this document, I'm more than welcome to send it out for anyone who would like to see it. It's also available in the business office as well if you do want to pick up a copy. But otherwise, like I said, it's just to give you a range as far as preferred choice goes.
What is the size of the assisted living apartments? The square footage?
Great question. Yeah, they don't vary entirely too much, but I don't know if I've got those numbers right off the bat for you. That Emily is looking for that to see if we can get you a number, but we do actually have floor plans in a binder on file that we're happy to provide an example of as well. Yeah, we might not have that number readily available, but again, we do have floor plans based on the apartment to be able to share, but ultimately you're not going to know until it's time to move. We'll keep looking, but I don't know if we're going to have those numbers available during this meeting.
Concerning the medication fee, $7 per prescription, per week, per month. So we're back to the repackaging fees again. So talking about that $7, if you choose to utilize Caremarks, send it to Remedy for repackaging. It is $7 per prescription. So that means every time you refill. It's not based on quantity. So you could have a medication prescription that lasts you for a month. You could have another prescription that lasts you for 3 months. It just depends on the refill. But it's $7 fee per prescription every time you refill, not per month. So if you do get a prescription that has a higher quantity, lasts you for longer, then you don't have to pay as often.
Back to the number of supervisors from 7 to 11, and then is it different from the in-between one versus what? There are 3 different shifts, correct?
Correct. There's 3 shifts, day, evenings, and nights.
Okay. Well, there are 25 on the 4th floor. There are 20 in memory care, and the rest are on the 3rd floor, right? So is there a supervisor always on each floor? Or does memory care never have a supervisor on the floor?
So again, the duly certified CNAs/RMAs, those individuals work on each and every floor of assisted living, including memory care. There is one LPN who floats in between the floors of assisted living, so they're responsible for all of those individuals. Then you have a supervisor on top of that individual who is here. So during, again, hours like today, you would have your director of nursing. After hours, when they leave, you still have a nursing supervisor who is here, but they're responsible for more than just assisted living. So really look at it as different layers. You've got your care team doing the hands-on day-to-day, your LPN nurse for all of assisted living, and then your Cedar Field supervisor. And that's still all shifts.
Well, this is an example from healthcare, but okay, there's Magnolia Meadow, the 4th and 5th grade floors, okay, of the new wing, okay, and someone was near death, okay, so there was nobody on the 5th floor, so it was some time before the person on the 4th floor could make it up, and then if you translate that, so that's 20 on each floor, and there's only one supervisor. I think it's the 11 to 7, but I don't know. And on the 3rd floor of assisted living, you have how many apartments? I forget. It was 25 on the 4th floor and 20 in memory care, and that's on the 2nd floor.
And then 42 on 3rd floor.
Okay.
So that makes up that total of 67, or really 87 if you put memory care in there. 87.
Right. And I'm concerned that there's no supervisor on each floor for a lot of the time. And it makes a difference if they're physically there versus sitting on the 3rd floor, or the director of nursing is on the 4th floor. So I think that I think I'm right. There isn't always a supervisor on 2nd, 3rd, 4th floor.
It is a shared nurse for assisted living in addition to all of your CNAs and med techs, in addition to a shared supervisor. That is accurate as far as the normal staffing patterns. Now keep in mind, just because I'm saying there's one nurse and one nurse only in assisted living doesn't mean there isn't additional support. We're a huge campus. We have nurses in all of our areas. So you've got additional LPNs and RNs that are on the healthcare side if there is a true emergency, to be able to respond to. And there are ways to communicate. So these CNAs and med techs can call the nurse when needed. They don't have to be just, stationed in one area of the household to be able to be communicated with. So there are ways to make it possible floating between these floors.
I'm curious as to why we're forced to use Remedy Pharmacy, because I've had problems with them when I was in healthcare. I know other people have had problems, so I have no faith or trust in them whatsoever. And yet I'm forced to use them. What is the reason?
The reason that we have to have a remedy involved when the clinical team is administering medications, it's a liability on those team members. They have to be able to guarantee you the medication that they're giving to you is from a validated source. So we don't consider like mail order pharmacy or like CVS, things along those lines, to be a validated source for us. It has to go through our partnered pharmacy for our team members to be able to confidently say, this is the medication you're receiving.
And
It's
mine
gotta
did
go through their
not,
hands.
because they weren't responsive, and they sent somebody down to my apartment to get my prescription from family care, and that's what we used.
Okay. If it's a more specific scenario, we can certainly talk about that offline, but the reasoning behind us using our partnered pharmacy is it's a liability standpoint when we as team members have to give you that medication.
It's required by the state in healthcare that everything be done unit dose, 'cause it's all done unit dose in the hospital. So they try to get all of the medications in depending on when you arrive at healthcare, and it's been seen by a physician who has sent an order in to Remedy Pharmacy. There are circumstances, if it's an unusual medication, they ask the hospital going into healthcare to send several doses with the patient. If somebody, they have to go to an outside pharmacy, they will.
Use the microphone. We can't hear you back there. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's state law in healthcare that everything has to be unit dosed as it is in a hospital for safety purposes of the patient. So that's dictated by the Board of Pharmacy in the state of Virginia. When somebody arrives in healthcare, now healthcare is different than assisted living or those in memory care. When someone arrives in healthcare, it would be the ideal situation that Cedarfield knows on Wednesday that you're going to arrive at 2 o'clock on Thursday and all of your medications have been sent to the pharmacy and are there waiting for you. However, it does not work that way. You have to be admitted to healthcare and be seen by the physician. That's when they get a written order to go to the pharmacy for the medications. So that's one of the, and the medications that you were on prior to going to the hospital and what you come back to Cedarfield from the hospital could be entirely different. So that's why there's a stat box with most classes of medications and antibiotics in it to be used till they get there. So they can't do anything till you're in healthcare. If it's an unusual drug, they will ask the hospital to send several doses with you. If it's something that Remedy does not have and cannot get for 2 or 3 days, they sometimes will have to go to an outside source to get that medication for you till Remedy can fill it. So, and occasionally, depending on what it's been, they have gone to get someone's own drugs, that is not the preferred method, to use until they can be provided by Remedy.
To answer a question from earlier about the square footage of the assisted living apartments, they are approximately 500 square feet, give or take a little bit, depending on the floor plan. But that's a pretty general size.
I'd like to comment on the drug plan. I mean, I've heard a lot of discussions here today on, and I understand there's so many different scenarios on the drug plan, but I just feel like I can share some experience I've had over the last 5 years. I deal with Remedy all the way. I've been very satisfied with them. I went through my wife in memory, both levels of health care, and it all worked like a charm. We didn't have to worry about a thing. The medicine, if Dr. Shear gave a prescription this morning, Remedy had it to us that night. And in healthcare, it comes and it's put in a medicine cabinet, and you don't have to worry about when your medicine's going to be there, when you're going to get it, how you're going to take it. It is all handled for you. When you try to work with 2 different pharmacies, that's where you get into confusion. I mean, I've listened to these questions, and I know it will work the simpler you can keep with your source of supply.
Final questions coming.
If an can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. If an individual self-medicates, and I'm assuming that applies to assisted living as well as anywhere else in healthcare like rehab or respite, do you also, hello?
Do you also need to use Ready, whatever the name of the company is? Ready?
So if you are self-administering your medications, meaning the team of Cedarfield is not involved, you can use whatever pharmacy source you would like.
And that would apply to rehab as well as for respite, as well as for assisted living?
So keep in mind, Poppy Place, which is our Medicare section of Cedarfield, self-administration cannot happen under Medicare benefits. So that's a separate regulation entirely because it is Medicare coverage. So I know assisted living is different from healthcare.
How many more questions?
One last question.
Okay,
How
one
about
more.
that? And I'll stick around for a few minutes afterwards too. I won't run away in case there is some individual questions, but maybe one last group one.
This is just a quick follow-up to my original thing, and I understand what Mary Ann's saying. The drug that they did not give me, I was 2.5 weeks into health care. They did not refill it for the rest of my stay, which is why we had to go to my apartment. It wasn't something that it took them 2 or 3 days to get it from CVS or somebody. They just didn't refill it.
Okay. So again, I will certainly stick around for a few more minutes in case there are any one-to-one questions. But otherwise, we certainly appreciate your time today and your interest in learning more about assisted living. And if you are interested in seeing the in-person tour, since the video didn't pan out as we had planned, just contact one of us to be able to set that up. Thank you all.